5.7a, inverse integration style.
What are we going to do?
We're going to finish our note card.
Really?
Yes, yes. All right, please write those down. All right, we finished our note card. All right, before we move on, what's the difference between an arcsine and an arcsecant? I want to talk about this first. What's the difference between an arcsine and an arcsecant? Arcsine is a number squared minus a variable squared. And arcsecant is what? A variable squared minus a number squared. Okay? I don't like it when students say, well, this one has a u out front of that square root. It does and doesn't sometimes. All right? It's the variable minus the number, or the number minus the variable, which is the giveaway. Here we go. So let's put this thing into practice. So the first one we have is the integral of dx over square root 4 minus x squared. And what I want to do is I want to get it in that form. Okay. All right. So on this one, let's manipulate it into the way it looks. So I can manipulate that top one to say it's what? Dx over the square root of what? What do I want to think of this 4 as? 2 squared, exactly, minus x squared. Now, we're going to be writing out our a's and our u's. So what's my a? 2. What would be my u? X. So my du would be what? What's the derivative of x? 1 dx, right? And so did it cover? Yeah, sure, it covered perfectly. All right, so now we just need to look at our little note card. What is this going to be? Is this an arcsine or an arcsecant? It's an arcsine. Why? Because the number minus a variable. So we just use our little note card. So then I'd have arcsine of x over 2 plus c. All right, let's look at this next one. I have the integral of dx over 2 plus 9x squared. And again, I want to manipulate it into the form that I need it in. Now, this one could be kind of a little trick. If we wanted to use old school methods, I'd make my u the entire denominator, would I not? But then what would be my du if I did that? An 18x, right? Does that get covered ever? No. And so the giveaway on these is like I have a difference of powers of 2 going on. And when I have that, it's going to be an arc of some sort. All right? If I had an x up top, it'd be a difference of power of 1. And we'd probably natural log that thing at some point. All right? But we need to just manipulate the way this looks. What kind is this going to be? It's going to be an arctangent, exactly. So now we end up having a dx over, how do I want to think of this 2 as? Square root 2 squared. Plus, how do I want to think of this 9x squared? The quantity of 3x squared. All right. So what's my a? Square root 2. What's my u? 3x. So what's my du? 3 dx, right? So what needs to be brought out front? If I have a 3 dx, I need to bring out a 1/3. So now I have a 1/3, and then, just look at our note card, so then I have my 1 over a after that. So what's my 1 over a? 1 over square root 2, and then I have an arctan of, what's my u? 3x over square root 2 plus c. All right. Pretty good. All right, let's look at this next one. I have the integral of dx over x square root 4x squared minus 9. All right, is this an arctan? No, it's got a square root thingy going on, right? What is it? It's an arcsecant. Why? It's the variable squared minus the number squared. I don't want you to say it's because of this x. I don't want you to do that at all. All right? It's the variable squared minus the number squared. All right. So let's manipulate the way it looks a little bit. So I still have this dx up top. And then where I still have this x going on. And then square root. What does this 4x squared want to be? A 2x quantity squared. Minus my 9 wants to be what? A 3 squared. All right. So what's my a? 3. What's my u? 2x. What's my du? 2 dx. Now, what do I want my u to be? I want my u to be what? 2x, right? So if you look at the form on your little note card, it says u, square root u squared minus a squared, right? So I want this x to not just be an x, I want it to be a what? 2x. So I'm going to make it a 2x. But if I do that, if I basically divided by 2 right there, I need to do what? I need to multiply by 2. So I need to put a 2 up top. Essentially, I just multiplied by 1. Are you following me? I multiplied by 2 over 2. Does that make sense? Now, if I did that, did my du get covered? Perfectly? Yes, this time. All right, it got covered perfectly. So this is just an arcsecant. So now we'd have what up front? A 1 over 3, and then arcsecant of absolute value of 2x over 3, and then plus c. All right, we're just utilizing our note card. Pretty good. Does that one actually need the absolute value? Yes, it does. That one actually needs it. All right, let's look at this next one. So we have the integral of dx over the square root of e to the 2x minus 1. Now, before we get too far, what's it going to be? Is this an arcsine or an arcsecant? This is an arcsecant. Why? It's the variable squared minus the number squared. Okay? Mr. Flick, it doesn't have something out front. Oh, we'll make it there. All right, so let's manipulate it a little bit. So now we have a dx up top. I have a square root. How do I break this e to the 2x thing down? No. E to the x quantity squared. I want it to be a squared. All right, so we have e to the x squared minus 1 squared. All right, so what's my a? 1. What's my u? E to the x. What would be my du? E to the x dx. Well, let's see here. If I look at this, this needs to be my u squared minus a squared, right? Well, my u is what? E to the x. So I need to put a what on the outside? An e to the x. But I can't just put it there. I need to also put it on top. So now I have an e to the x over e to the x. Essentially, I multiplied by how much? 1. Now, did this du get covered? Perfectly? Yes, again. Yes, it sure did. So now my answer would be 1 over, what's my a? 1 arcsecant of, what's my u? E to the x, absolute value e to the x over 1, and then plus c. All right. Now, you don't technically need the 1 over 1, but it's fine if you put it. Now, did I technically need my absolute value on that one? No. However, does it hurt to put it? No. It doesn't hurt, so I would recommend putting it there. All right, let's do some more. So write this one out. We have x plus 2 in my numerator over the square root of 4 minus x squared. On all the other ones before, we had a difference of powers of 2, right? I had something up top, and then I had a squared on the bottom. Right now, what's my difference of powers? 1. If I took a limit to infinity, I would totally agree that they're the samesies. But right now, if I'm just looking at my pure variables, I have a difference of powers of 2. So what could be my u? What's my innermost composite? 4 minus x squared. So what would be my du? Negative 2x dx. Now, did it cover? Kind of, sort of, but did it cover the plus 2? No. Well, daggone it, we need another way to tampa. So we have a binomial over a monomial. So guess what we need to do first? Distribute, divide. We need to just, it says it up there. We need to distribute dividing. All right. So let's distribute dividing. So now we'd have x dx over the square root 4 minus x squared. And then plus the integral of 2 dx over the square root of 4 minus x squared. Do we see how we did that? So on the left side, are we going to do a u du kind of thing? Like what we tried to do before? Yeah. But on the right side, what's it going to be? We're not going to deal with it yet, but what's it going to be? It's going to be an inverse trig. What kind of inverse trig is it going to be? It's an arc sign. Why is it an arc sign? It's a number minus a variable. Okay? All right, so let's work with the left first. So I already made my u and du. So what needs to come out front? A negative 1/2, exactly. So now we'd have a negative 1/2, my integral du over square root u. Now, if I have du over square root u, that's really u to the what power? Negative 1/2. So let's add a power, so then it'd be u to the 1/2, but then we divide by 1/2, which is really multiplying by 2, so we end up getting a negative square root of my u, which is 4 minus x squared. So that's my left side. Now on the right side, it's going to be an arc sign, right? So let's manipulate the way it looks again. So I still have this 2 dx going on, and then I have square root of 2 squared minus x squared. All right. So what's my u? Oh, what's my a? I'm sorry. What's my a? 2. What's my u? X. So what's my du? Dx. All right. So now I have plus 2, because that's a 2 out front. And then what do I have out front now? Does arc sign have anything? Does it have a 1 over a? No. So then I have just 2 arc sign of x over 2, and then plus c. All right. So my answer would be that right there. All right. Pretty nifty. All right. All right. That's all. All right, so there's your homework. Page 387, numbers 1 through 10, 17, and 71.